All right, welcome back to Smack Talk. Leave it on the court. Like I said before we went on break, we had some. We reached out. We wanted to see what the fans wanted to talk about, and somebody had actually suggested the NFL's new helmet rule, which is really good because after looking into it, it's really confusing. And I can understand why all of these defensive players are getting really upset at the NFL about this new rule. Joe had something that he wanted to read as far as like the actual definition of what the new helmet rule is. So, Joe, if you wouldn't mind.
This is from an August 1st article on NFL.com. According to the fact sheet, the penalties for a violation include a loss of 15 yards or ejection, which includes a set of these standards. 1. Player lowers his helmet to establish a linear body posture prior to initiating and making contact with the helmet. Obstructed path to his opponent and contact clearly avoidable and player delivering the blow had other options.
Where do we want to start with this? Because this whole thing is confusing.
Contact clearly avoidable, we're playing football.
Yeah.
Do you mean in a sense of trying to take his head off? Because then it says, and the player delivering the blow had other options.
Tackle him or let him score.
What are the other options?
Let him score.
I feel like the NFL is making it so hard on defensive players to do their jobs.
You're gonna run out of defensive players to pick from.
Yeah,
because
you almost might run out of kids in general to play Little League football, move on to high school.
They'll turn into CFL.
You know?
Yeah.
Scores in the 60s. No defense.
Yeah.
And to us as a group, that would be almost boring. Kind of. I kind of like seeing good defensive games.
Absolutely.
I love, like, I remember, what was that game when it was super cold in Minnesota and Seattle, I think? 9-3 or 6-3.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, that might have been a boring game to a average football fan, but
New
that was
fans more than anything.
you know, defensive players. Yeah, it was cold. It was football.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see hard hits.
Right.
That's just the way
Yeah,
it
I
is.
love to see a Hail Mary, but when the time's right, I mean, I don't want to see,
You want to see those 2 or 3 really big, meaningful offensive drives.
especially if we're going to sit down and watch a game. Like, if I'm going to make it the Saints are playing the Giants, well, me and him are going to figure out a way to watch that game. You know what I mean? And we're going to want to watch and we're going to want to have an exciting game. And if the defensive players are getting penalty flags every other tackle,
I don't want to watch it.
I mean, how do you avoid contact when you're in the air? Can we fly? I mean, what do you?
My thing is my thing is when these kids started playing football at a young age, they were playing football.
Right.
When they got into high school, and then especially when they got into college, they knew what they signed up for.
Yes.
You know what you're signing up for when you sign a $30 million contract with you're getting $10 million guaranteed. You know what you're signing for. You're signed for potentially being paralyzed, for having CTE, for potentially dying on the field in all reality.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's what it's been for how long? And all of a sudden they want to change it because people are crying and bitching and moaning. But it's just like when you sign up to go into the military. You sign up potentially, obviously, to get killed. You get CTE in the military.
PTSD.
PTSD, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
You could be paralyzed. You come back with no limbs. And you're getting a check for nothing.
$60,000.
Not even.
Not even.
And that's if you
Right.
get paid. These guys know what they're doing.
Now, I would say guys that played in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even the 90s, they weren't fully aware of the consequences of playing football
No.
before this.
30 years down
But
the
they
road.
still know they could be paralyzed on the field.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
been
yeah.
from day one.
Right.
But players right now, they know the full spectrum of risks that come with playing football, and I do agree with you. It's like, okay, the players are
Enough
saying
is
we
enough.
want to play football.
Yes.
Right.
So stop handcuffing defensive players. It's not necessary. If these guys want to play and these guys want to make that risk, let them make that risk.
Don't play football then.
Right.
Go play basketball, baseball.
You even got some offensive players that are saying, like, all right, this is kind of getting out of hand. I mean, some receivers are down for it. I mean, it's part of the game.
Yeah. Well, some receivers are down for it because it just makes it that it's like you can't do anything to me.
Right.
I'm going to look like a superstar on the
Right.
field.
Yeah.
And that's why you do have the offensive numbers have skyrocketed. Receiving numbers, passing numbers, particularly, are through the roof in the last 10 years.
If you guys have not noticed, it's a systematic thing. Look what they did to the NBA with the 3-point. Look how predominant the 3-point ball is nowadays.
It's almost
That's your first option is a 3-ball. Then inside the paint is next.
I would blame the Golden State Warriors specifically because there's been spurts where teams have tried to make the three-point shot. Dominant,
but yes, I mean that, and then now look at the NFL. They're systematically making it more exciting. That's what they did with the 3-ball. That's why they first off introduced the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Not many people know this, that there used to not be a 3-point line in basketball.
Yeah,
right.
None of you young boys don't know this.
It was introduced in the 70s or 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe the 70s.
Yeah.
70s.
Late 70s.
Yeah. So people don't understand that. So people aren't going to understand when, 10 years from now, they're like, you guys used to be able to hit people on defense? You didn't have to just push them over?
Right.
Like that's what it's gonna eventually turn into, to where you can. I said it probably 5 years ago when they first instilled the new help,
the changing of the tide and
the changing of the hits, that you couldn't
Right.
level them anymore. I said eventually it's gonna be they're gonna be playing flag football.
It used to be a segment on ESPN called Jacked Up. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Like they would highlight the best hits. And
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, every single one of those hits that made it on Jacked Up would be a flag now.
Oh yeah, of course. They might even be ejected from the game.
Could yeah.
Well, in NCAA, you got targeting, and I mean targeting is such a broad. It's so broad.
subjective.
Yeah.
How do you? I'm going in to make this play. I'm trying to pop the ball loose. I gotta hit him. So I hit him, and now I'm suspended for the rest of this game and the next game because I tackled him.
Yeah. Or they could fall before they could trip.
Right.
And they don't put that in
their head
perspective
drops,
anymore.
Right.
They don't
the
put
head
that in
drops
perspective anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
They blame the
my-
defense player. He should have changed mid-air
Right.
to not hit him.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
bro, that's impossible.
One of my favorite players growing up was Sean Taylor.
Yeah.
The rest in peace safety that used to play for the Washington Redskins before he was brutally murdered in his own home. But we're not going to get into that. He was known for his ability to just knock people out.
Yeah.
Ed Reed
He couldn't
I mean,
play.
Lay him out.
He couldn't play in the league now. There's no way Sean Taylor could play in the league right now. If he was in his prime
And
right now,
Ray Lewis.
Oh yeah,
He-
Ray Lewis would knock people out.
They would have banned him from the league.
Yeah,
They would have banned
you're
him.
too violent. You're too violent to play football.
Imagine Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah. Oh,
Imagine how different it was back
Yo.
then too. Though.
Imagine Lawrence Taylor, how he used to attack quarterbacks.
Right.
That man would rip your head off. And not be
And-
penalized.
And now you can't even
I
touch
can't
a
even do this.
right.
Oh,
If the
penalty.
quarterback's got
Yeah,
the ball.
You
It's
touch him on his high shoulder. That's a flag.
Blame Tom Brady. It's a Tom Brady rule.
tuck rule.
Yeah, it started with the tuck rule.
Your
Yep.
golden
Whoa.
oldie.
Yeah.
No, when he got hit, the non-playoff relevant player goal. But no, when he got hit in the knee and he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
That's when
Oh,
they
yeah, yeah.
instilled that new rule that you couldn't hit him below the knees.
But-
But then they said you can't hit him in the head, so it's like you got a window this big to hit somebody in. That's it. The
And
only
if you spear him, that's a flag.
I'm going to say
throw
this
your
now.
body
The
at 'em.
only reason I watch football is because of fantasy football.
Same.
If I didn't have fantasy football, I
Same.
wouldn't watch football anymore, to be completely honest. Because at this point in time, I don't care. Because they're making it they're making it into a
Soft.
pussy sport.
Soft.
That's why all these kids are getting participation awards. Where do you draw the line of you guys got to know you got to come out and play and be killers.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Everybody gets an award nowadays. Everybody get the sport
real.
as a whole, the whole generation. It's a generational thing. Everybody's I could say, boy, you're ugly, and they're gonna start crying.
Yeah.
They're not millennials. They're offenders. They're the offendees. Oh my God, he offended me. Like that's what it is nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Coaches.
it
I remember
translates.
when I was a kid, my coach used to swear,
Yeah.
grab us by the face mask. I'm 8, 9, 10 years old, and this dude's shaking me by my face mask, bro. But it made me tough. I ain't no pussy. I've been in some shitty situations in my lifetime, and you know what? I've never given up because of the fact that I've always been like, I always have to fight for anything I want. That's why I've been told.
You've always had to figure it out.
You know, and these kids nowadays, shit's handed to them left and right, and it's just it's just a trickle
It's
down
almost
effect.
like if you think about it, like as far as youth football goes, I mean,
Nobody's playing football.
we drive to the house and we see one team practicing right there.
I was
going
gonna
to
say you guys have a huge field.
one team. It used to be the Raiders and the Titans. That was it. You know what I mean? Two
Yeah.
teams that
It
play.
was the original, just the Raiders.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now
Then the
you got
Titans,
and now it's the Joliet Ravens and there's barely two teams out there.
Yeah.
So like eventually don't you think the NFL is not going to have a talent pool to draw from?
That's
No,
what I'm
you know
saying.
where they're getting their talent pool from? It's a system thing. They're
Yeah.
getting them from the
Right,
ghetto.
yeah.
They're getting them all from the hood.
Yeah.
You get running backs, wide receivers, defensive backs, defensive ends, linebackers from the hood.
Yeah.
You get offensive linemen and quarterbacks from hillbilly ass fucking states. Iowa,
yeah.
Kansas,
You're not-
Oklahoma.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
It's-
When you
it's-
think about it.
And
yeah.
think about this: offensive linemen. Do you ever hear about them having CTE? No. Quarterbacks, depends on the caliber of quarterback you are. Nowadays, you're not going to have quarterbacks talking about they have bad, but yet the wide receivers will, the running backs will, the linebackers will, the defensive backs, the safeties will, because what are they doing? They're putting their true body on the line. They're not putting these,
paid.
You know what I'm saying? It's a system thing. That's for another argument. But if you think about it, where do most of the wide receivers come from?
Florida.
LSU, Florida, Georgia.
That corner.
Yes, that corner, the dirty South.
Yeah.
That's where they get them from,
Texas.
Because you know why? They can put them in that, and they're not gonna question anything. They're gonna give you their all because I'm fighting for this paycheck because I never had money in my life.
What? They've been in worse situations.
Yes, and that too. They've been in worse situations, but
Yeah.
they also are money driven because unfortunately most of them are not raised with money.
It's the only way out.
So they look at it as like, shit, I was in the streets fighting nonstop. Now I'm in here making dough. I'm gonna give it my all now because I'm making a $25 million check every 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I just think it's a pussy league now.
Yeah, I don't think any of us
No
agree with
fun
the
league.
direction.
No.
No fun league.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, they brought back celebrations, but it's still the no fun league.
It's Mother Russia.
So, in breaking down this new helmet rule, and I think we all three of us can agree that we don't really understand it, and we're not the smartest guys around, but we're not dumb. And we've read this probably 4 or 5 times since we've gotten here today, and talking about it, we still don't really understand the breakdown of this rule.
So I found it's called the fact sheet for the use of the helmet. And it's saying the NFL way to play is an educational series and proper use of the helmet to protect players. So players got to go through this class.
Sure.
Emphasis on stance posture, knees bent, pads down, hands first, head up and out of the way.
Before you finish this,
head up and out of the way. I mean, you.
Let me preface this. So you're going to get a bunch of guys, and let's just assume rookies, right? That you bring rookies in and you force them to take this class before they ever play it down in NFL, right? So you're gonna get somebody in the classroom. You're gonna sit them down. It's like, this is the way that you're supposed to play football. How long have these guys already been playing football?
10 plus years.
10 plus years already. Do you know how hard it is to untrain somebody?
What if you get a coach when you're 8, 9 years old and he don't teach you the proper way until you learn in college?
Most of these coaches are.
I mean, most of these guys are average dads, and
Like, and I know that the NFL.
Yeah, I'm sure Aaron could teach somebody how to tackle, but in the NFL eyes and the NCAA eyes, is
it right?
Oh,
is it correct?
Probably not, because you're trying to lay right. Right.
Hit him as hard as you
hit
can.
him. You hit him.
You hit him as hard as you can. You let him know don't come across this middle no more. That's what
you.
Ray Lewis did.
Right. I remember there was a small video of Chad Johnson blocking somebody for the Ravens, and he didn't realize it was Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
he said, "Oh man, that was Ray."
Yeah,
on the ground.
He said, "Why'd you do that?" He said, "I didn't know it was Ray." I saw that video.
But I mean, it's not very clear cut to the NFL players, and maybe us as I would consider us above average fans. I mean, we look at sports a little different. So it doesn't even make sense to us.
Right,
It's
and
like,
that's a problem.
It is.
So, in this particular situation, so you have the only first round draft pick that is still unsigned in the NFL, and unfortunately, it is the Bears linebacker, Roquan Smith.
Sorry,
gotta get that out.
Not happy
Wes,
about
Zach,
that situation.
everybody a Bears fan.
I'm not happy. But and you know what? A lot of people are giving Roquan Smith shit because he's the only first round pick.
Literally just was.
But if you understand the situation and why he's not signed, I actually am on his side on this. So the Bears put language into his contract basically saying if you get suspended because of this new helmet rule, that we're allowed to take some money back from your guaranteed money. Not your base salary, your game checks, but your guaranteed money, the money that when you sign the paper, they have to hand that over to you. So
I wouldn't pay him.
I
I wouldn't pay him. What are y'all gonna do? Sit me? Bet. Sit me. I'm still making this money.
So with there being no precedent at all for this, especially with this new rule, and there being nobody that really has a clear-cut understanding of this rule, I as a human being, I can't go to Roquan Smith and say just sign the damn contract in the training camp. No, honestly, it's a bad move, and if your agent tells you to sign that deal, you should probably fire your agent. Yes. Especially when you have players getting 100% guaranteed contracts, and now your team wants to take money away from you if you get suspended from a
rule that's not even
If they can sit
they
down
don't.
and
They can't even explain it to him, the player.
Exactly. So I think you're going to see a lot of players taking that same stance. I don't blame Roquan Smith at all.
I mean, Joey Bosa sat out damn near till week 1.
Yeah,
last year.
August 31st, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm all for players sitting for what they believe in.
For his development, it
Yes.
sucks, and I wish he would play, but I don't.
The rule
want him to
rule
sign
is
that
too
contract.
sketchy.
As a Bears
because-
fan, you want him to go to camp.
I want
Right,
him to
and
be
get in the
successful. on the
But
field
as
for the
a
team.
as a human, you realize your moral standards comes first.
Because
No,
they're
absolutely.
you could almost accumulate 2 or 3 penalties a game. I don't know how it's going to work because I'm sure if you get 2, you're going to
You'll
be
get
ejected.
something like that.
So
yeah.
now you're talking, over a play that is so questionable.
Yeah, this is his livelihood, and
Right.
guaranteed money is
Right.
supposed to be exactly that, guaranteed money.
Does this somewhat forecast of how the intensity level he plays at?
Yes, which
Because
makes
there's
me
no-
even more excited to see him on the field.
That they're
but at
so
the s-
worried that
yeah.
they're like, hey, bro,
You hit hard.
you got to tone it down because you're going to kill somebody.
and you never really want to tell a player to tone it down.
No, you can't.
because
Not
you
in
limit-
NFL, right?
Especially in the NFL,
you
you
can't.
limit their effectiveness now. So you just kind of got to let him go out there and let whatever happens. It's like, look, be the best player that you can be. And I do fully blame the Bears, who don't have a great reputation as a front office ever.
No, not at all.
Really ever.
Poor. Very piss poor.
And and it's been a change of hands a lot in the last 10 years, and it's still got that same reputation.
Still got the Chicago. Oh, the Bears. Well, what are they going to do?
So-
win 5 games.
So
Right.
my message to Roquan
Yeah.
Smith is, do what's best for you, but when the time is right, get on the field, play football. With-
He can't sign that contract.
oh no, 100%
He
agree.
can't.
If the
I'll sit
if
out
the
the
Bears
whole
don't
year.
budge, if the Bears don't
He
budge, don't sign
can't-
the contract, and I mean that.
He can't sit out, and he can't sit out, and the Bears need to sign him. So you got to figure
Somebody's
it out.
gonna break.
Somebody's going to have to break, and I
Somebody's
think it's
gonna
going to be the Bears.
It's going to
eventually.
have to for their
Because-
future and everything at stake. With
How do you look as a
Roquan?
franchise that you guys still have
The
not signed your?
only-
Yes, you still have not signed your draft. Would they draft 8?
8.
And you didn't sign. It's not like they drafted the last pick.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, to where it's like yeah. But no, he's supposed to be started
He's
the
supposed to be
rebuild of not rebuild that be inserted into that defense, which is they're a good defense. I'll give them that. They're top 10. But-
They project him to be in that lineage of the Bears linebackers. One just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's how good they project Roquan
But they
Smith
paid
to
him.
be.
They paid him, and they didn't say, "Hey, if you get a penalty, you got to give us back that guaranteed money."
Exactly.
So I don't blame him. I hope.
Rules
I
were a
hope
little
Brian
different when
Urlacher.
Urlacher got signed.
I
though,
hope
too.
Urlacher goes there.
Rules were
back there.
different.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
But it's still you still had penalty in
Yeah,
the sense of
absolutely. It just
intentional
wasn't as
hit.
magnified.
No, but I'd be like
from a
I
players
wouldn't do
union
it.
standing, I would tell Roquan Smith not to sign a
No, I
contract.
would-
It's
I
like,
would-
look, because you're opening the doors for other people to be
For
subject
For other
to
teams to do
Yeah,
that, right?
Set a standard.
Yeah,
Set
no,
a standard
I
and say,
def-
hell no, we won't go.
I wouldn't do it as him as a person. I'd be like, if you guys are going to take away my playmaking ability by making me have to pay that back, then you guys drafted the wrong player.
And then if he does sign it, now he's got to play on.
He's
Now
going to
he's
be
gonna
walking
pull
on
up.
eggshells.
Right.
He's not going to produce.
He's not gonna
He
be
won't. He
effective.
might not have 100 tackles. He might only have 80 tackles.
And then you know what? Then what happens next is they're going to say, well, he's not as good as we thought.
You're
he
not
was.
performing, so now let's. Yep.
Then that's how you get cut.
And then that's when he goes to a team like
That's
that
when
is
you go
going
to
to
the
say, "Hey,
Patriots."
play your game," and then he kills it, and then the Bears are like, "Damn it, we let him."